This is Pastor Troy right here. Get ready for what we call something incredible. It's called the Best of Season 3. Our executive producer, Donna Kranuski's gone in the files. She's dug around, looked at your comments, and she's picked the best of Season 3 to throw back at you. So over the next few weeks, get ready. It's coming up right now. The first of, the second of, and a whole season of nothing but the best of Season 3. Get ready as that episode rolls now, and don't worry. We'll have new Season 4 episodes coming at you very soon. Be praying for us. We'll see you soon. I'm Pastor Troy. You've been on the dock. Now get ready for Season 3 Best of. And you're on the dock here on the dock.org every Tuesday and Thursday, dropping new episodes out of there. We start that show to our version of Sitting on the Dock of the Bay by Mr. Otis Redding. 2 minutes, 36 seconds of a great song. No verse 2, just that old whistle. Why did he whistle? Well, he died before he got back to record verse 2. He went out, they went to do a gig. He hadn't written it. He whistled it, was going to come back and finish it, and they died in an airplane crash. Oh. That's why they whistled the verse. They never finished it. Went to number 1 very quick, and one of my favorite songs in the world. We're sitting around this cottonwood table.
Really young.
Very young, and had a lot to offer.
I think.
And it's the desire of my heart that when I get to heaven, I would like to hear verse 2.
Yes.
I want to know what verse 2 is going to be. So we're sitting around this table having conversations to propel your faith out of the shallows and into the deep. So we're going to sit right here and talk with our brother Ray Minor a little longer about extreme exigency. Did I get close?
Yes,
I'm getting better.
The more you practice it, the more exigency.
Exigency.
Yeah.
You got to kind of get a double dig there. We're on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Facebook, Roku, Rumble, and SermonNet. Go find us. We would love to have you on YouTube. Watch us, and Spotify and iTunes are our primary channels, but all those are available to you. Also, social media network, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, and Getter. We'd love to hear from you. Talk to us about what we're doing. Ask you for crazy. Find out how to link up with things. Maybe you want to find out more about what Ray's business is doing, how to get a haircut, whatever. We'll talk to you about it. We'd love to have that conversation. Share this with other people so they can find out how important what we're going to be talking about in this episode is all about. And you can always go back into our archives and find out about previous shows. This is Season 3, and you can always hit subscribe, like, notify, and tell other people about what's happening at On the Dock. You can also become a partner of the show. 4 levels of partnership, 3 levels of sponsorship. Go to Patreon, download that app. You look up On the Dock, and it will show you how to become a partner of the show. That's a partner friend. We'll let you be a part of it. We'll bring you into the conversation at a deeper level, and 3 levels of sponsorship for businesses and organizations, churches and stuff. If you want to be a part of the show, we have more that we can do with you there as well. Also, we're partnered with slnt.com. Go to promo code OTD, put that in, and we'll benefit by that, and you'll benefit by their great products: phone sleeves, key fob, dry bags, backpacks, laptop sleeves. All these things prevented to make sure that you're able to reclaim your right to disconnect. Got mine right here on the set here. It's in here. Nobody can listen to me right now. Google is frustrated right now because they don't know what to sell me through their vendors.
What's Troy doing?
What's Troy doing? They're listening. We can prove to you they're listening.
They are listening.
Well, they are listening. Even when
Big Brother is watching.
They are listening, Ray. They listen. On the dock.org, go find out about all these links. You can get there. Every one of us have got some sort of cough. Colt, you're not coughing.
I am not.
You're the only one not, and you were before. You had a little bit of flu before.
I was.
Yeah, we're all just a little bit heady. On the dock.org, go find us out. info@onthedock.org is our email. You're on the set with your wonderful host, Pastor Troy. I got Mother Beth with her summer hair. We found out the last episode, summer hair.
No, I have winter hair now.
No, the pictures are summer hair.
Pictures,
yeah.
summer.
Okay, Colt Krotowski, we just talked about. He's the only one well on the set completely. And Donna Kranuski, our executive producer, she's not here, but she will talk to you on social media, and she will answer all your questions. Taking it to the street, spotlight, extreme exigency.
Yes.
I'm getting close. I got to learn to hop there. We're in part 2 today. We're going to talk a little bit about, is it better today? What is the need to be prepared for that moment and the next steps? We're going to get into that with Ray Miner, founder and owner of this. And go back and watch part 1. You'll learn a lot about it.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's really, really good. And go find out about that. But let me do this real quick. Before we let Ray talk, and Ray, we're going to have some great stuff. I want to show, we showed in the last one a clip from their Facebook page. It's about 1:30. And it kind of shows the whole thing, including the barbershop that they do. We'll get into that. But I want to show you real quick one more clip that I pulled beforehand. It's the 30-second piece. You produced this. Did you have this produced for TV or someplace?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. It's a really good shot. So check this out. We're going to show you this. This will give you a snapshot of what they're doing at the Training Academy and Shooting Park just real quick here as we get started. Here we go.
Looking for a place to practice, sharpen your marksmanship skills, or obtain your Illinois Conceal Carry training? Extreme Exigency Training Academy and Shooting Park is the place. Located southwest of Benton, Extreme Exigency offers 8 individual shooting ranges so you, your family, and your friends never have to share a range. Associate memberships starting as low as $25. Concealed carry courses offered every month. We are not a drive, we're a destination. Extreme Exigency Shooting Park, home of the Armed Barbers.
Wow, fantastic. Ray Miner. Ray, tell us, what is that moment, the extreme exigency? Define that again for us real quick as we get launched into this.
It is immediate, unavoidable, life-threatening, deadly danger.
If you don't do something, it's bad.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes, it's at that moment when you have to defend yourself, your loved ones, a family. It is the only time that you're justified to use force likely to cause death or great bodily harm, which means anything from a firearm to striking somebody in a vulnerable area, or anything that could cause a reasonable person could believe could be a fatal blow.
And today you're retired state police. You have your own business now. So that's that picture we have up. I have a picture of you. Did you used to ride a motorcycle?
Yes, I spent 6 years on it.
Golly.
Yeah.
And now you've got your own organization where you're actually training people to protect themselves and for safety and stuff now.
That is correct.
You've been doing that we talked about that. Your whole life's been, law enforcement has been training people and preparing people and equipping people, but you've decided to do that on the backside of your career.
Yeah, I did have a blessed career. I was involved in school violence and wrote the first school violence curriculum that was adopted by our state board of education.
Wow.
And state police sent me all over the nation. I sort of became the school violence spokesperson for the state police back in the late '90s. And
That's really neat.
so I
What a
truly have.
privilege.
Yeah, I have had such a blessed career.
Yeah.
I really have.
Yeah.
Give me a little bit of give me a little bit. We didn't get this really strong in the last episode. Give me a little bit of the ethos, the spirit, the heart behind what you're doing. I understand you want to train and equip people, but you're not just somebody. You're somebody that loves the Lord. You and your wife are dedicated to the Lord. You're committed to your church. You're committed to having your mission statement. I put it up in the last episode. It starts off to glorify God. That's almost like a church. That's almost like a non-for-profit Christian organization. And I know you are that.
Yeah, the shooting park is a nonprofit.
A non-for-profit.
But of course, the training academy and the barbershop is a LLC.
Very good. So you got a conglomerate of work there, but all of that's to the glory of God, and it has a positive influence. We're going to get in the next episode. We're going to do a bonus episode here, and we're going to talk about in that episode, we're going to talk about the Christian perspective on defending yourself. So we're going to get to that because I want people to come back and go, I think a lot of Christians think that well, I just turn the other cheek means be a victim. It doesn't necessarily mean that. Turn the other cheek means be graceful to other people, be allowed of other people, but it doesn't mean let them take your life or your family's life.
Absolutely.
Or harm somebody that's precious to you. There's a difference between being grace-filled and being a pushover.
Yes.
And those are distinguished.
And we've talked about, we fight from victory, but the truth is our Lord was not a pushover.
No.
No, he was not.
I mean, when you think about what he did, from knocking the tables over and confronting the Pharisees. I mean, all the things that he did.
Right.
He was a man's man.
Absolutely.
He really was.
Hey, his guys had a sword. They lobbed an ear off when they came to get him.
Yeah.
And he said, "Guys, stop. We're not going to do this right now. We're not going to do this right now. But there might be a time when you do. And by the way, when you go out, you need to sell whatever and get you a sword."
Yes.
In that day, that would have been a firearm.
Yes.
But so the Lord is not opposed to protection. We're going to talk deeper about that because I think a lot of people think Christians are pacifists. Yes and no.
Well, yeah. I mean, we want to be loving to others. We want to express love. We want to have the fruits of the Spirit. And because I tell everybody, you judge by the fruit. and we want to show that. But at the same time, we can do that and still protect our family and our loved
And if you come to that extreme exigency moment, we talked about a threshold, or that moment where somebody else's will can cause a change in your life will, the Bible then opens up other possibilities of how to defend your household and yourself. So we'll get into that episode 3. But right now, I want to get a little more about the ethos of this, just the basics of what's behind the thought process. And, you've dedicated yourself to training and equipping people. I mean, we'll get into more of the Bible, but a little more of the ethos of it. What's the spirit around the whole place there? You got a place where I go there to get my hair cut. You're training people here. Your arm barbers, I love that. Give me an idea here.
Well, it's a family, I mean, and it's a family atmosphere. I mean, we have puzzles, we have games for kids, we have, I think I shared in the first episode, that we tried to create a place a guy could go between work and home that wasn't a bar.
Right.
It is sort of a manly place, but
Absolutely.
women are welcome, and we have a lot of women that come out. That in fact, women will come out with their husbands and just sort of hang out. But it is sort of a manly environment. I mean, it's the barber cuts, or the barber shop is very traditional men's haircuts. Not that we don't do other non-traditional haircuts, but most of our haircuts are all traditional.
Right.
We don't do colors or perms or anything like that.
Darn.
Yeah, we don't. We have. I tell everybody we have a strict perm rule in our shop. Unless you're married to us or gave birth to us, you're not going to get a perm. But every day, from Stacy's on the the range side, and she's very, very dedicated supporter of our Second Amendment.
Stacy's your wife, but your office manager. I'll put her face up here.
Yeah.
She's fantastic and helps process everything. Does the
married way
paperwork,
above my
coordinates
pay
stuff.
grade.
Yeah, she coordinated all this. She got you in here on time. You provided stuff here.
Yeah.
She's the one to make sure. When you do stuff with you, one thing that you will know is you have the option to letting Stacy coordinate your paperwork and all your stuff.
Everything, yeah.
Let her do it. Let her dot your I's, cross your T's, and get things done, because the state of Illinois will lose your stuff. And she will hound them down. And she will help you make sure you bring the right things, which is fantastic. So you have full service.
Yes.
Your whole family's involved with this?
Yeah, well, actually, yes. Even my grandchildren work out there and help and stuff like that. So,
That's great.
We have, our groundskeeper lives on the ground. He is an old family friend. He and I have been friends for well over 40 years, and him and his family live on the property where my grandmother used to live.
Oh, I love that.
And so he's always there. And we have actually church groups that come out and use the range on a regular basis.
And we are one church group that will do that.
Yeah.
And we do that on a regular basis. We're fixing to schedule something with you in March, April to do it again. I think I'm going to explain that real quick. I promised that in the previous episode. In 2013, that's when Illinois got its concealed carry deal, right?
Actually, it went into place January 1st of 2014.
2014.
But it was passed.
But we started ahead of time.
Yeah,
right.
It was passed in July of 2013.
Okay. I'm bringing up a graphic. This graphic has been in my file for a long time, November 16th, 17th. This would be of 2013, because in anticipation of the change of law, you had already been preparing and been a part of knowing what was going to come to be required to apply for that.
Yes. In fact, our curriculum was already approved, and we was in the process of putting it in
Unbelievable. We don't even have the law in force yet. He's already got a plan to work through it. I guess being state police, you were aware already that this was in process, that they'd already asked police input. So
Well,
you had some knowledge?
Yeah, the state police, one of the things the state police does very, very well is that they monitor closely any piece of legislation that
Affects them.
Affect them administratively, financially, enforcement, training, anything that's going to have an impact on the state police. And one of the things that they do is they have, they call them administrative reviews, which what happens is the state police's legal team identifies the piece of legislation, and then they send it out to all of the districts. And at the time, and now they're troops, but at the time there was 21 districts. And somebody, a member of command, would actually review that. And then they would send, because obviously something that impacts District 13 in Southern Illinois may be impacted much differently than somebody from a district from Chicago.
Right.
Right.
We're a different world down here.
We are.
We're a bit different world.
So how that piece of legislation affects those districts, it could be different. So they would make each district write a response to that. Well, what happened is because of my background and everything, about 2010, my district commander, I was a member of command. I was a master sergeant at the time. And instead of where they normally divvied those out every month, and I did one of 5 of them in 2010, my captain said, Ray, you're going to start doing them all.
Right.
So myself and there was another lieutenant in District 22 that was doing the same thing. We was reading and redoing all of our legislative reviews together. And what started coming down from our legislators in 2010, 2011, 2012, ultimately signed into law July of 2013 was our Conceal Carry Act. So, yes, I was reading that 690.
You're way ahead of this.
Long before it actually even got. And I actually, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think there are things in our Concealed Carry Act that I would love to see improved, changed. I feel like we have too many prohibited areas or protected areas, however you want to
They've
call
loosened a few of those up, I think, recently.
They have not.
They have not. No, okay.
They have not.
Some states have.
Yes, some states have.
We have not.
But Illinois has more than any other state.
Yeah, it's ridiculous almost. Yeah. Now, when you started this, were you weren't retired yet, correct?
I was not retired.
So, and some of the guys that you worked with weren't retired yet. So you guys were actively already looking to help people transition through this process as police, but doing this as a side thing, right? Yeah. So what happened was I was aware of this, and I come from Tennessee, down there where they were way ahead of this.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I had family that wouldn't move here because they said, well, I won't be able to carry a gun here. Yeah. So people, it was actually unattractive to people because they think of Illinois as Chicago or St. Louis, but Southern Illinois is a lot safer place, but everybody here carries a gun. Yeah. Everybody knows how to use one. A lot of hunters, and we're a little different.
We're a
rural area. So right. So when
firearms are a way of life for us in Southern Illinois.
Some people were carrying guns before we should have been carrying guns. I'm not claiming that, but there were a lot. But what's good is it gave everybody a baseline to become legal, but you also knew that they had training and they had some basics, and it kind of gave a baseline. So what we did was I saw this coming too. I was paying attention. I was excited, and so I reached out, and I don't even remember, Ray, how I got to you. I think I called around and people said this guy's doing this organization. And I need to get hold of you guys are all police.
Yeah, I think that it had a little bit to do with we had a mutual friend.
Yeah.
Kevin Fleming.
That's right, Kevin.
Yeah, it was Kevin.
That was Kevin. It was Kevin.
Yes.
Kevin was working for the sheriff's department.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Kevin. Because Kevin helped me out. That's right. Kevin said, you got to talk to these guys. And he said, I really trust these guys. And so we called, and you didn't really, you're just putting everything together.
Yes.
Right. So I said, I'd like you to train everybody that would like to come in our church. And I'd like to open it up to a broader group. And so we put this thing together on the 16th, 17th to cover the 16 plus hours required. And basically we added to it a little bit of a Christian perspective on it. We put it in a conference setting. We had shooting rooms, and you had a shooting trailer and everything going on. And we put this out. I'm going to tell you guys, we put this out, had a room full of people, a big class.
Yes.
And we did another class a few years later. We did it again. And matter of fact, I'm fixing to do another class with him now, but we're going to your place.
Yes.
We're just your February class. We're doing people. We've got people coming. So we did at least a couple of these, and I know a couple other churches began to do this, and you did classes in other churches.
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Right. I know CLC did a class as well. So we were the first, trust me, because we put this out before it passed. I went public with this. I full press release this. Yeah.
It was a big
We're
event.
good. I began to get calls from ABC, CBS, the locals, but then I got national calls. You're a pastor and your church is going to hold a gun weapons seminar? How are you working with that? I said, I gave them the biblical layout, and we'll get to that in part 3. Act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly. People are going to carry a gun in Southern Illinois. They already are carrying guns. Yes. I, as a pastor, want them to have training and be responsible, and I would like them to be trained by people that are responsible and proficient. And I have found the best people that I could do that. And so we set this up, and we did this with you guys. We've done multiple with you guys. And let me show you this. They did the first. This is a picture of us we have our sanctuary switched to this. We had the chaplain was a state police chaplain came in and led the day off, created biblical grounds. We had worship that day.
Kevin Fleming.
Kevin led worship. And then we jumped into your stuff. But what's cool about it is I've taken your renewal courses since.
Yes.
I for a while, I've had other people go, even when we go to your place, we are still getting some of the biblical and Christian ethos from that first class.
Yes. It's always been a Christian based. All of us, every one of our instructors, all of us are strong Christians.
Right.
And we wanted the presentation. We wanted the use of force to be something that we could put out there with,
in the proper way.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and this is why I refer people to Extreme Exigency to come and see you, because as a pastor, we did the first one to set a tone and to let people know you're going to do this. There's a proper way to do this. If you ever come to that threshold moment, I want you to understand the ramifications of it and what you need to be thinking about.
Yes, and that's another reason why we try. We stress so heavily on the conflict we avoid is the one we win. Because we want to avoid having blood on our hands.
Right.
Because even David, the Lord said, "Hey, you got too much blood on your hands."
And you start all this off with the Predator's Playbook. So even if you're taking the basic class, those first how many hours of the class?
The first morning.
The first whole morning
4
is really
hours.
how not to get hit, how not to get.
We cover pretty much everything that's in the Predator's Playbook. However, the Conceal Carry portion of the Predator's Playbook is geared directly around somebody who probably will be carrying a firearm later.
But your first few hours, we brought our high school students in. We brought our young girls, our young guys in, and said, we want you to sit in on this because everything you're learning here, you don't need a firearm to do these things.
Oh, absolutely.
And as you
not.
go off to college or high school, this is going to be invaluable to you.
Yes, and that's whenever we do that, the Predator's Playbook as a standalone presentation. That's exactly. I mean, we've done it for churches, we've done it for ladies groups, I've done it for businesses.
Every student, every young person, I don't care if you're male or female, going off to college, you should go see if you can sign up to be in one of their classes just to get this portion.
Yeah.
You may not even be 21 yet. Is it 21 in the state to be able to carry a firearm?
Yes, but I've had people in my concealed carry class as low as 16.
Yeah.
They've taken
Yeah. Our daughter was.
Our daughters,
about that
all
age
our
when-
kids all took them.
Yeah.
Your second one, we made some of ours come home from places to take them.
Yes.
Because they need to hear it. We put all of our youth through it. They need to hear this because it is so easy to be a victim. And university settings are some of the most victimized places you can get.
Well, and part of it too, especially if you have a daughter, certain ethnic groups, certain females, elderly, those people are vulnerable classifications.
And they're targeted.
Right.
Yeah. So I tell people, if you're a member of one of those vulnerable classes, and then you recognize privacy and concealment, or you recognize the different things, you have to be prepared.
Right.
How to avoid those.
Right.
So we mentioned that they do the Predator's Playbook. They do a basic handgun course. So after we want you to do your CCW first because it takes longer to get that in our state.
Yeah.
But then you can back up if you've never handled a firearm. They're going to teach you to do that to pass the course. But they're going to come back and teach you a lot more. What more is going to happen in the basic handgun
The
course?
difference between the basic handgun course and the concealed carry course is the concealed carry course, we provide the firearms. There are people that come to that class that haven't even got a FOID card yet. They don't know what they're
You don't need, listen, you don't bring your gun. You don't need a gun to do the concealed carry. You show up, they're going to take your documentation, and they're going to provide you the firearm to do the range stuff.
Yes.
You don't need their stuff. Matter of fact, you don't want to use your stuff, please. Their stuff's going to be so much easier and comfortable.
and it's going to be safer for us.
Everybody, they
too.
can
Right.
control the setting. But then when you get to the basic handgun cuffs and say I shoot a Sig Sauer 238. You're going to train somebody on that weapon a little bit?
Specific firearm.
On that system.
Yeah, you're going to bring your firearm, your ammunition. It's still we still do the 2-to-1 ratio on the range, so it's limited to about 12 people. We bring 3 instructors in.
Yeah.
So it's done.
I mean, and when we talk about instructors, your team is trained. A lot of them are police, state police.
Yes.
They got backgrounds in that. We're going to talk about the team here in a minute, but they are good. I mean, firearm safety on the range.
Yeah, some of them are not only firearms instructors for their whole career, but they have specialties in their field of firearms as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to explain with our church here. Now, we did the concealed carry in 2013. We did another one in 15. We did another one in 17. About every 2 years we offer it. And now your place is offering it regularly. So now we're just pushing people out to where you're going. Matter of fact, Cole will tell you, we're running stuff right now at our church right now, aren't we? Every Sunday, we're running your stuff now.
Thank you.
We're trying to get people to the February class. We've told them the March class is an alternative. Your January class just finished, right?
Yes, this
So
last
you
weekend.
can't. We also told them when the renewals are. So we've got people coming to your February class, and then our security team here at Community Faith Church, we will come out and enter into a contract with them biannually, every other year, to bring our whole team out. Everybody then our staff, our teammate, maybe they have their concealed carry. That's one thing. Concealed carry is certain rules and certain guidelines, and they're teaching you for that moment. But it's a whole different thing if you're actually trying, and we have a lot of people in our security team that we don't have a lot of law enforcement now in our church. So it's one thing to have your license. It's another thing to understand how to be smarter than that. And so we hire them to come out, and they do more deeper course, more looking, more alert, more how to protect, talk about our strategies, how to perfect that, how to never get to that point.
Yes.
And then afterwards we talk about if you get to that point, what to do. And then they take our guys out on the range, and we might fire several hundred rounds.
Yes.
And I have watched their instructors. I mean, we had one guy, and we have a rule here at Community Faith Church. I'll just tell you, I don't know if you know this, but if somebody has their handgun permit and they go, I want to be on the security team, we say, well, you can't be till you do extreme exigency training. So we've got people that we will hold off until they've been out to see you. And they say, well, I want to get on now. So then you're going to have to call Ray and get a special private class, because our church will pay for the one every 2 years. So you got to do that. And if they don't clear you, we're not going to clear you. You don't know this, but I've used that to really protect us a lot, because our insurance company gives us a credit for it. They give us a credit for having a safety and security team, and that I have a protocol, and that we have a kind of a threshold. So we had a guy out there, our last class, that kept kind of handling the gun improperly, and at least 3 times the instructor put his hand on his gun and loaded it down properly. Finally, the 3rd time he said, you just need to put that away. You know, it just wasn't, the muzzle kept kind of waving around a little bit too much. And then the funnier time, the previous workshop we had, I won't name Carl Jackson, our my secretary. He was out there with a newer firearm. He had a new firearm, a new Ruger, something like that, fairly inexpensive firearm, and he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I don't think he wasn't hitting not just the person's head or the shoulders. It wasn't hitting the sign. And if you know about his targets, they're pretty good sized targets. We'll see. He wasn't hitting nothing. And everybody was hitting. He was hitting nothing. And finally he said, there's just got to be something wrong with this gun. And your instructor was an old gray haired instructor. I don't know, his flipper or whatever. He says, let me see that thing. He loads it and puts all 7 shots right through the eyeballs, whatever it is. You know, the head shot. He says, there's nothing wrong with your gun. So now let's work on your technique.
Yeah, side alignment, trigger control.
But I want to be fair. I had problems early on too. I switched to, I got a SIG hire now, which Bill Barnett, who passed away, told me to switch to. He was the head of our security. He said, that's better. You need that. I used to use a bodyguard, and it has a real long pull, and I'm not used to that, but it was safe. You know, it's kind of, and so I would pull off the target with it. And then I was out at their course, and they said, you're always kind of to the left. It's because you're, you're low left, Pastor. So here's what we want you to do. Once you go home, we want you, this is silly. This is crazy. And I did it, and it worked. They said, we want you to take a dime and put it on the end of your barrel. And we want you to just sit there and just kind of dry shoot at the TV some nights until the dime doesn't fall off. Then you'll be okay. It changed my shooting. It was just a little thing.
Follow through.
So what I want to say is your team there that does basic handgun, you get out there with your gun and you learn how to fire that weapon and you become effective with it. It doesn't make you special. It just makes you safer. Yeah. So, I mean, it's amazing what your guys have so much experience. It's ridiculous.
We have a great team. I'm so blessed. And you know, 2 of them have been with me since the very beginning.
Tell me who, let's talk about that team real quick. Who do you have working with you these days? Give me a little bit of background. So if you go take an academy, if you go out to shoot, who are some of the people that you'll be working with on your team? Of course, Stacy is going to be there to get you signed up. Yeah, she's going to get you licensed and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. Stacy's going to be your go-to person to get you registered, get you in the right place, the right class. So you talk to her about what you want. And you know, some of our instructors, we do one-on-one training too. So
really? So you could schedule time for that.
But Stacy would be the one that would do that for you.
Okay.
So,
who's somebody else? Who's some of your other team that you're using active today?
Byron Farthing.
Byron was part of the original workshop.
Yes, he was part of it. In fact, I thought that was really cool, that photograph of how young
was him.
How
he looked younger. He's gotten older. Is Byron? Where is he working these days?
He actually retired December 31st. Yes.
Was he in Marion Police Department before?
The state police.
He was state police.
Yeah, so
he was when he started though. He was with Marion, wasn't he?
No, he was with the state police. But he had started at Williamson County Sheriff's Department.
That's right. He was. That's right. That's right.
He worked at the federal prison for a little while.
Yeah, he was very experienced, very experienced.
Very knowledgeable.
And he's a good man of God.
Strong man.
Strong man of God.
You can feel the Lord's presence just when you're around him. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Byron's a good man.
He's got a wonderful family.
Who else are you using?
But he's still with you.
He's still working with you?
Yeah,
still with me. In fact, he will be training on the February class.
Oh, really? So fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, and then the next one, we have Chris Edwards.
I got Chris here. I got Chris up there.
Chris has actually been with me since just about the very beginning.
Yeah.
Too. So he wasn't with the very first pilot class. class, but everyone after that, he came on board almost immediately. So
Who else you got working with you?
we have Rick Bellman.
Rick, I don't. Oh, here you go. Rick.
Yeah, Rick Bellman. He is also retired law enforcement.
It may have been. It was either Rick or Flip. One. It was one of the old Codgety guys that put the hand on the guy's barrel and said, "You just put that down." It was the third time. He said, "On the third time, I'm going to ask you to unload it. We're going to set you aside." And he looked at me, Pastor's like, "This guy's not on your security team." You know what I mean? So afterwards, I had a hard talk. I said, "You're not going to be on the security team. We've got other positions that you could be on, but you're not going to carry a weapon.
You could work in a cafeteria or board reader.
But here's the deal: if you want to schedule some time with these guys, you can come back out, and when they say you're clear, but you're not clear. So
I'm surprised it wasn't Pawpaw.
It was no. Your pawpaw was there when that happened and helped me say no. He's not doing it. Your pawpaw could shoot the eyeballs out of anything. So his pawpaw's Bill Barnett.
Oh yeah,
I didn't connect that to you.
Oh no,
that's
Bill. Was a wonderful man.
No, Bill. Not only could Bill shoot, Bill could fix your gun.
He could build them,
or build one from scratch
if
you need one. And he was head of my security. And they're family to me, and I was never more safer.
Yes,
I miss
man.
Bill.
Yes,
I miss
wonderful.
Bill.
Yeah, Rick was he was also a 30-year law enforcement officer, retired from the sheriff's department as a captain.
So you think it was him that put his hand on the gun, or was it Flip? It was one of those.
Yeah, well, Rick is still with me.
I think it was Rick. I'm sure it was Rick.
So
He's like, yeah, dude. Yeah, he's the one who took the gun and then showed the guy how it worked.
He would do that too.
He did that, and he did it as quick as. I mean, it was like he had never shot that weapon.
He's a strong marksman.
He'd never shot that weapon, and it wasn't the weapon. Yeah, it was like the third clip that Carl had emptied and not hit a thing, and he was just sure that. I was even thinking, surely the barrel's bent or something, Yeah.
Well, and that's people develop bad habits. Sometimes it's hard to get those bad habits.
And the Ruger and the Bodyguard, the more let me say pedestrian guns, they're kind of designed to have almost a long trigger safety.
They are.
So you got them in your pocket, you're fiddling around, you don't shoot your leg off.
Yes, and that happens.
So that long pull, but that long pull requires different discipline.
Yes.
What's funny was he didn't have a problem with that either. He probably never shot a gun like that. He probably would shoot a much better gun than that. So I learned from Bill very quick. Bill said, your problem is you got that Bodyguard. Let me get you a better gun. Bill shot a Kimber. And I shot his Kimber one day out there, which is like the Sig Sauer.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, this is just great, So ever since then I've been in that 1911 model. It's a big difference.
Rick's a big 1911 guy.
He is. Yeah. It makes a big difference. Anybody else you got working for you these days?
Well, we have Mike Dollins.
I got Mike right there.
Yeah. In fact, Mike does the reloading class for us, and his wife does a beekeeping class out there for us.
Oh, really?
A beekeeping. I saw the bees out there. I didn't know if that's like if we miss and we make them mad, they come after you.
Yeah. No. She just she's does beekeeping, so she does a basic beekeeping class, usually once or twice a year.
That's really
now when you take the basic class, you're just basically self-defense. You're gonna get if you get in that moment of extreme emergency, you're hoping to get a couple shots off, get protection to yourself. You don't really cover a lot of reload. You cover some basics, but not like you did for us in the more advanced
class. You're going.
Oh my gosh, they teach you how to reload and have a second round and up, and that's a whole different.
It is.
It's a whole different ballgame.
And it takes a lot more discipline with the range instructors. They got to be watching a lot more, because when you start doing those function drills,
you start waving that gun around.
Yeah, you got to really concentrate on muzzle discipline.
Especially if you're not law enforcement, you haven't come up that way.
You even have to do it with law enforcement. Too.
Even with law enforcement.
Yeah, we have to do it with law enforcement too. Because people get bad habits, and sometimes we get careless. It's just
and the concept
of being sometimes even the more used to handling a gun you get, sometimes you could get lazy with your.
Well, and what happens is also a lot of times people train by themselves,
right?
So they're not used to having
worrying
people around them, so they don't concentrate, and then of course it becomes muscle memory.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that changes that. So
that was one of your issues.
That was one of my issues.
You'd have to keep telling him, "Now quit waving that gun."
Quit waving that gun. Well, there's nobody here. I just shoot the wall. But when you're in a church security setting, a family setting, it becomes very disciplined. You realize it's a lethal weapon you got. So your team is just incredible what they do.
Yeah,
I'm very proud of
and I
really,
really appreciate that.
They do a great job.
Let me get into the core of what I want to talk about in this episode a little bit, and we'll keep talking more about what you're doing here with all this stuff and with churches and with groups. And if you're a church or a pastor out there, I would highly recommend you go out, get your hair cut, and then say, hey, my church could use like the Predators playbook, places of worship. You could do a program with them. You could also come out and probably arrange to have one of your teams come out and evaluate current security. That's what you did for us.
We have a little bit of stuff that does that.
Byron did that.
Yeah, Byron will do it, and we have a little bit of that. We try to actually get churches to think through those things.
Well, and that's what he did with us. He came in and had us walk through what we were thinking about doing. He didn't change a lot. He just added to the thought process.
Yes, and that's actually what we want to do. We want the church elders and stuff because there's no cookie cutter approach to church security.
He said, move this person here, move this person here.
Every church is different, from small congregation, little country churches to mega
He walked
churches.
through the building and said, you need to think about this. We never thought about locking all of our other doors and creating one point of access. So 15 or 20 minutes before the service, we have a staff door there, but that gets locked.
Limiting access.
We have one point of entry.
That's the way it should be. Yeah.
15 minutes before the service starts.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
And basically now our security team can see and observe everybody coming in. And if somebody's trying to get another, they better have had a key. And somebody's probably walking down to make sure that they know who they are. Yeah. So that changed. Lots of things changed.
And that's part of even changing your congregation, because churches get used to people making those side doors or entering through other locations.
Right.
So even teaching your congregation to get your congregation to understand this is for our safety, is to limit those access points.
And let me give an example. We had in churches, you can have situations where households are under distress, somebody's in a divorce, or there's a court order. Yeah. You don't know, because people don't just say. Some people come in and say, Pastor, I'm going through a divorce. I'm going through an ugly one. Some people don't tell you anything. Yeah. And the next thing you know, we have all of our securities on radios. We have a radio in our children's church, a radio in our nursery, and we have a radio in our booth. And they can key a button on that, and that will set an alarm off that will move all our security in those directions faster. Yes. We have one person that roves. We have people in other stations. But if, say, the children's church hits her button, she can just hit her button, and we'll hear it in the church sanctuary. Yeah. Because a lot of the guys got in ears, but some are lazy. And we'll hear them go, oh man, what happened? That means something's going. You'll see people start moving. So one Sunday, we had a guy jerking on the door. He had jerked on the side door and the front door of the children's church. He was trying to get in to see one of his children
that he wasn't allowed.
He wasn't allowed to see by court order. And our church security, our church children's church she simply keyed her button. And I'll tell you what, they walked him back out to the parking lot, out of the thing pretty quickly.
Yes.
We didn't even know the situation. And I thought our team reacted really well. Yeah. And we've had more than that happen. But that's an example of being prepared by having those doors.
Those are the more common things that happen.
But if we had not had our
somebody coming in with a gun.
But he didn't have a gun. He just wanted to come see one of his kids, but he wasn't allowed to. Yeah. And Beth and I have been impacted by family that can't see their kids anymore. I won't get into the details here on this show, but you have that happen. That there's that family becomes, even though they're family, they can become predatory.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we wouldn't have been that door normally in the past would have been open. It wasn't.
Yeah.
And it wasn't here.
Unfortunately, churches in the past have always, I think, wanted to be open and welcoming, and you want to assume everybody that's coming in needs ministry and they mean well.
Yes.
And you can't assume that anymore.
Yeah. I have people. Go ahead.
And again, that's another thing. There's a lot of things that churches need to be prepared for. But you highlighted on it a little bit in the fact that it's not likely there's going to be a church shooting in your church. But again, Satan is the greatest terrorist we're ever going to deal with.
Yes.
And studies show that every time there is a church shooting or a church incident or a place of worship incident, that 18% of our Christians don't attend church the following weekend. Right. Well, that's exactly what Satan wants.
Sure.
Right. He wants 18% of us not worshiping.
Of course.
So that's why it's so important that we let our congregations know that we're doing everything we can to keep them safe.
Right.
And you're paying attention.
Yes.
We have in our church, we've had a couple different times early on where we've had, people come in, they're upset, they're disturbed, they want ministry. And, for most of my ministry life, somebody came forward to the altar and they have tears in their eye. I'm just excited. The preacher's fixing to lead them to the Lord. We're going to help them. We're going to have victory today. And nowadays, and this is what I want to talk about, better today. 10 years ago, somebody coming forward in my church, I would just assumed I'm fixing to lay hands and minister to them. 10 years ago.
It's been longer than that.
Maybe
but yeah.
13. Okay. But I've been in ministry 35 years. 20 years, 15 years back, I would never even thought of that. I'm just going to, but we're a pro-life church. We're a pro-Christian marriage church. We are a God-fearing church. We take stands on things, and
As you should.
As we
As you
should. We
yes.
send people to Christian counseling.
Yes.
We have good Christian counselors that are part of our church, and sometimes that causes marriages to be healed. Sometimes people find out they don't have to live with that kind of abuse, and marriages end, and then they can blame the pastor that sent their wife for them to that counseling for that.
Yeah.
And so I've learned. I had a friend, the Baptist pastor in Maryville. I was in Highland when they were shot and killed. I've had other situations with other friends. The church can be a dangerous place in the last 10 years. It's changed.
Yes.
So
Well, there's a war on Christianity.
there is,
today.
and it's worse now
Yes.
in the last 2-3 years than it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And so we've had people come in. So when somebody comes up crying now, are they crying because they're fixing to end their life by doing something extreme, exigency moment?
Yeah.
Are they coming to change their life spiritually? I now, as a pastor, have to sort some of that through really quick, and I can see as they're coming forward toward me, I see their face. I have people planted that can intervene, and I have to assess that really quick. Does this piece mean me harm or no harm? Yeah. Part of that's got to do with their movements and where their hands are and what's displayed, and they're not carrying a bag or they don't have a hoodie on. Yeah. God, but they come up, and I've had people that while the song's being played, they're coming up, climbing over things at the church they shouldn't be climbing on, and they're disturbed.
Yeah.
And I have a signal. That says, no, it's okay. I've got this. This is a ministry situation. And I have another signal that says, no, I need you to remove this person from the sanctuary now and do it.
Yeah.
And they just simply by the arms and walk them out, and maybe they need to go to the prayer room after that. Maybe it's deliverance, probably so. Maybe they need to see somebody else and not come back. We'll determine that later, but they're not going to be in here right now.
Yes.
And we've had all that happen multiple times here. And we wouldn't have done any of that if you guys hadn't trained us.
Or we wouldn't have done it as effectively.
And our people are so comfortable. We have people that come to church here just because we provide. They know this is a safe place.
Well, and I think that is true. I think people.
Nobody thought about that. You didn't think about a church going, well, I need to go to church. They preach the gospel. 3 churches, same church. But this church provides safety and security. We have an AED. We have a plan for exit if there's a storm. And we have safety and security. We found out that people were calling us during some of these tragic shootings. These churches like this church here, let's say, for example, they were calling around saying, well, what does your church do? And we were able to tell them Extreme Exigency trains us. We have a plan and a program, and people would actually come here and go, this is a place where now I can let my hair down and worship because somebody else is watching this for me.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, that's really, and that's whether that's in a church setting or that you're in your business setting, which, if you're trained, you can protect that, or it's in your home setting.
Yes.
There's a sense of, I don't want to say security, but there's a sense of being prepared.
Yes. And like I said, that comes back to that. If you're not afraid, if you know what to be concerned about, how to identify things, you're less likely to be worrying all the time or be fearful all the time.
Right.
Yeah, less likely. Yeah. And that's that moment. Do you think, we just talked about this, but I guess I want to get to the heart of this. Do you think things are better today or worse?
Well, I think that we are in a difficult time in our country right now. Yeah. And I do think there's a war on Christianity. I do. I think that people don't fear the Lord like they should.
Yes.
Right.
And
I agree.
I think that
a Christian could trigger somebody for just being a Christian.
Yes. Yeah.
You didn't even do anything offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, and because of the, everybody's worried about, they put that phobic on the end of everything. If you say anything or you do anything, you're, either homophobic or you're something like that.
Right.
That word on
whatever ism is going on today.
And I just think that for that reason, it's difficult for Christian men to be Christian men.
I agree with that.
And I think I do think that's one of the things that we like to. Extreme Exigency does is we do promote that.
Yeah.
The Lord wants us to be men. He wants us to stand up and have the courage to stand up for the Lord. And I think that it's difficult for men to do that right now.
Oh,
Well, you
yeah,
know, what I
agree.
want to say is this series is taking it to the street spotlight, and we're spotlighting Extreme Exigency right now. But we're also doing a series in season 3 called "Building a Stronger Church," and in that, I'm doing some teaching on the church being the resistance today, being the Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's of this day, standing for Christ.
Yes.
And making our stand because the pressure of the opportunity. Luke 21:13 says we live in a moment where there's challenges, but he says in those challenging moments, that's an opportunity for you to be me,
Yes.
to be my hands and feet, to share the gospel. But you got to be willing to stand up in that time. And then what I'm also doing is I've been bringing in about 6 or 7 different church pastors that are also pastoring churches that I consider the remnant pastors. They're not compromising. They're not scared of saying we stand for Christian marriage. We stand for life. We stand for the biblical fundamentals. We want our men to be godly men, respectful men. We want our women to be godly women. And those pastors, it costs them because there's people that will quit those churches because they've made this stand, or my niece is this, and my aunt, what about this? And I've got people of other character and other operational sexuality in my family. In my family, I love them dearly, but I'm not going to compromise on my godly values. So we're bringing in pastors that have refused to compromise, to bend their knee, because the only way to train church leaders is for them to be trained by shepherds that are not hirelings, but are truly following the Lord's command.
Yes.
And what's strange about this
And
episode,
a true shepherd's not
true
a coward.
shepherd, right?
A true
It's not-
shepherd's a manly man.
that,
I mean,
that
he's-
stands in there.
Yeah.
Respectful. I always tell people, I said, I don't care if they want to be married or if they want to go have a whatever, what do they call it, significant other. That doesn't bother me. It's as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. Is the thief on the cross, there were 2 of them. Jesus looked at, they both were cursing Jesus. Finally, one of them said, "Are you a fool? This man is different. Can I go to paradise with you?" And Jesus looked at him and said, "Sure." So Jesus responded to him. The other guy never quit cursing, far as we can tell, never relented. And we don't hear Jesus saying bad things about him. We just have him saying, "Hey, you come and go with me." He didn't. Jesus knows we're all lost in sin. He knows that saved by the grace of God, we are going to eventually end up in hell. And the decision to know Christ is our free will decision to make that commitment to him. I don't have to look down on people that don't choose my way, but I need to be consistent that I know my way. And I need to be comfortable living on the rock that I am and not want to try to build my house on sinking sand. And you can do that respectfully. You can do that. I love my family that's not right. And so I hope when they want to get right,
the Lord wants us to be loving.
and I want
Right.
when the storm hits them in such a way that they feel their sand eroding, and eventually it will. I want them to know that they have a family member that is living on a rock that will help them up, not beat them down. So I think a lot of pastors, a lot of churches, some churches are harsh and they're hostile. I don't think you have to be harsh and hostile. I just think you have to say, as for me and my house, we're going to do this. What you choose to do is you're right. Jesus died to give us choice again.
Oh, yeah.
He died to give us the choice. Yeah. But I want to be uncompromising.
Yes.
At the same time, I want to recognize the fact that you have a right. And so I think we live in a day, right, where that's harder and harder and harder.
Well, and I think that's, when I shared with you earlier how we'd sort of changed our mission statement and everything. That was one of the things that we had recognized, that we want our business. Because I do think that business leaders today need to step up to the plate and start showing that this is a Christian-based business.
Yeah.
And that in our business, we're going to follow the Lord.
You're not ashamed.
Yes.
Right.
And that was part of our, Stacy and I had prayed about it. We had talked about it, and we had pretty much decided that this is, not that we wasn't already doing it,
But you're clear about that.
but we wanted to say this is not just something we're doing. This is what we are. And we wanted
We
to
don't just go to church on Sunday.
yeah. In
We
fact,
are.
Yeah.
This is who we are.
In fact,
Yeah.
I got a sign in my shop that says worship doesn't stop on Sunday.
It's
that's
24/7,
Yeah, it's
365.
24/7, yes.
Well, in our
Yeah.
church here at Community Faith, we have a thing called the proclamation out of Timothy. That we ask the Lord to help us to understand the word, corrects, rebukes, trains in righteousness, and builds us to the glory of God. And so we make that as a profession before we read the scriptures each Sunday morning, because I want, when people come to our church, I want them to hear that. I know when you walk in church, you just think, oh, they got a Bible, they're Bible believing. But you have churches today that are very confused about what the Bible means today in application. So they have waffled on this or waffled on that, or they just think the Bible is being rewritten. we don't here at Community of Faith. I know you don't at Cornerstone either. What I understand is the Bible is there to train us in righteousness, to correct us, to rebuke us.
All words are good.
And it causes me sometimes to be indifference with a family member that may be living a different lifestyle, but I can love them like a prodigal lost.
Yes.
But without having to agree with them. Now, they'll tell me, if you don't accept my lifestyle, then you don't really love me. That's their problem. I can love you without that.
Yes.
You know, the world's using a lot of guilt on Christians right now to say, well, you have to accept me. If you don't not only respect me, but if you don't accept me into your own matrix, you're a failure. And I go, no. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. So we make that declaration up front to say that how we're going to teach in the church is biblical. And I realize others may read the same Bible, but we're actually going to take it serious.
Yes.
Now, will we fail at it at times? Yes. But we also believe the grace is there.
Yes, the Lord. We worship a forgiving Lord and a forgiving Savior. One of the things that I shared with you in the last episode was with my past. One of the things I struggled with was forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean forgetness.
Yes,
that's right.
And a lot of people don't realize that doesn't mean you're giving up or you're when you forgive somebody. Yes, we're forgiving them, but it doesn't mean we have to forget and allow ourselves to be in that position again.
Right.
Right. Whenever we talked off camera or off, about some of the stuff that happened in your family, it's the same thing. You can still love them. You can still
that's right.
pray for them. You can forgive them.
But you don't forget.
You don't forget.
And it also changes.
You're not going to put yourself in that position
right.
again.
And it doesn't cancel what happened.
Doesn't.
And it doesn't stop the repercussions of what happened just because you forgive them. There are still things that are going to happen because of what they did.
Yes.
Yeah.
The need, okay, if things are definitely worse today in the community, because, if you look at, like, my hometown's Memphis, which is the most dangerous city in the country. The most, it and St. Louis were tied for third.
I was going to say St. Louis.
Well, they were tied for third. They were tied for third a few years ago, and now it's Memphis is the most dangerous. St. Louis is right behind it, and everybody thinks it's Chicago. Chicago's behind Memphis and them. Yeah. Chicago's a smaller, it's a bigger area in conglomerates, but Memphis is the most dangerous place. St. Louis is right behind it. So we live 3 hours, and Nashville's not easy. Yeah. And then Chicago, of course, is famous. We live within Indianapolis, we live within just hours of any way we go, being in a very dangerous zone. So you need today to be aware and to be frankly honest. Williamson County is safer than most, but given the proliferation of drugs, the desperate need of people to finance those drugs, you walk Carbondale right now is a little demilitarized zone right now. Yeah. There are shootings in Carbondale taking place. I'll be honest with you, Ray, we avoid Carbondale now as much as possible. Number one, we avoid Carbondale because we're not going to spend any money there because they've got so many abortion clinics going there. They just fired up the one there that we don't want to spend any money in a town where the county is voting to have that as their primary source of industry. So we spend almost nil there. If we have to go there, we go there. I even am moving medical tests that are in the Carbondale Hospital to other counties because I do not want to go there.
You don't want to support that.
I don't want to support that. I don't really want to drive through it right now. And so we really try to avoid it. And I realize we can't do everything that way, but cut the tax dollars. I'd rather tax dollars go to Williamson County, who's working harder to protect myself. So we can make decisions like that.
Absolutely.
Just right there. But there are times when you have to go to St. Louis. You have to go to Chicago. I need to go home to see my family in Memphis. So you need... It's just worse. So what is the need and what would be the next steps for people to get on the track to be better prepared to handle that extreme exigent moment? How will you help people if they want to give you a call at 618-629-3422?
Well, I think that they need to start thinking about their own self-protection, their own personal protection, the protection of their loved ones and their family member. And then, of course, they're going to have to get some sort of training, whether they choose to get it with Extreme Exigency or they choose to do it with Tombstone or whoever they choose to do it with. There are quality trainers out there that can train them, so they need to be looking at that. So you have to be able to protect yourself before you can protect your family.
Right.
And it works out from there.
Yeah, I think I always say that the lioness has to have the tools to be able to protect herself against predators before she can ever protect her cubs.
Right.
The sheepdog has to be able to have the tools to be able to protect himself against the wolf before he can protect the sheep. The same thing with us. We have to do that. Right. And that's.
Are you getting more women today coming?
We are.
I have a ton. I've got one or two guys coming.
Yeah.
Kerwin, our new head of security, is coming because he needs to get trained on firearms. I just trust him. That's why he's leading that. And but I've got several women that just.
It's usually not quite half of our classes, but I'd say over a third of our classes are females.
Yeah, my number one security officer is my wife.
Yeah.
She took the first class with us, and my daughter-in-law is another one that's well trained. And I always tell people, they said, who's your closest security person? My wife sits in the front pew, and she's a better shooter than I am.
Yes.
So I always feel very.
That too, I'm a witness to that too.
She is
so
a
I know
better.
that.
My wife is a better pistol shooter than I am. I'm my college champion. I'm my high school champion skeet shooter. I am fantastic at shooting skeet and doves and ducks. Leading with the shotgun is one thing. Pistol's a total different work, and I worked hard to be better. I am better, but she has always been a natural shot with anything rifle or pistol. So
my son's he's much better with a handgun than any long gun.
Isn't that amazing, how you have different sets of skills there?
Yeah.
So they can get a hold of you or another group, get trained. What's the process look like in the state of Illinois? It takes forever now. It's better than it was.
It was better than what it was. We've actually heard people of getting their permits in less than 4 months. I don't think that that's the norm. I still think you're looking at 5 to 6 months, but they have hired a lot of people at the state police in the Conceal Carry Firearms Bureau, and they are working. The backlog has been taken care of. I think that, I don't know how I'm curious to see how this new year is going to go as far as, Stacy, number one person Stacy worked with actually retired this December 31st, but they've got other people coming in to replace that individual, and so we're curious to see how that transition is going to work out.
Yeah.
But they've been that individual and his department have been very, very receptive of issues and very timely as far as getting things corrected if somebody's lost their passwords or they've got too many logins. There's so many little things that can go wrong when if they have two people have used the same email in the same household, it can cause issues.
And then you're just lost in a world there.
They're like, Stacy calls it like a black hole.
It is.
Yeah.
It disappears.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend, it's an option to use them to do your administration. Use it.
Yeah,
I just tell our people. I really tell our people it's not even optional.
Yeah, Stacy does all the licensing, and she does not just for us. I mean, people that went to other training places. I mean, she supports our Second Amendment. She just wants people to get their permits
And do it right and get it properly
And the
done.
truth is all of us are safer. The best
Absolutely.
defense against a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun.
Yeah.
So Stacy is very, very adamant. She works very hard. In fact, spends hours at a time for very little fee to get people their license. If they've got them suspended or there's been a glitch in the system or somebody's answered the question wrong or something or other and got revoked or got rejected, Stacy's quick to try to help them get it. She just her heart is there to try to get people to do that.
Now, as you think about going out and doing the training academy shooting park, a lot of people think, well, I got to get my FOID card. Not anymore. You can do it simultaneously.
Yes, for the Conceal Carry class. A lot of people haven't even bought a gun yet.
Used to be you had your FOID card, then you had to do this and that. So you don't even need a gun. You can come out, get signed up for the class. They will train you, get you the hours you need, get you the proficiency you need. Then you come back and take the gun class once you buy a gun.
And you get to handle a lot of different firearms.
And you might find out, I want a revolver, I want a semi-automatic or this
and
that.
We talk about the different calibers. What works best for women?
Don't go buy a gun first, because you're going to see a lot of stuff and hear a lot of stuff, and that will inform that decision. Yeah. And so come out, take the class, get the training done. Let Stacy file for your FOID. Let her file for your license. Yeah. Let her do all that stuff for you. Then talk with them about some ideas. Go check out a gun. Whether you go to, you guys sell shooting equipment and supplies?
We don't sell firearms.
You don't sell firearms.
Yeah,
so go to someplace like Pro Gun. I like Paul. Go
Jimmy Hood.
Jimmy Hood. Let them work with you. Those guys will let you try some stuff out.
Yeah.
And pick a weapon. Then go back and take their beginner's course.
Yes.
Come back and take the beginner course. Or schedule some individual shooting time.
Yeah.
Get out on a range like there with Byron and let him teach you to be proficiency. Look at this. They're having a good time right out there.
So
see, there's Byron right there watching what's going on there.
Yeah.
So
do you, with those ladies.
Do you guys have different types of firearms that you let people
We have a lot of different firearms
out?
people can handle.
Okay.
And then we try to work with people if they have a specific firearm they want to try to help them if they want to do a one-on-one training. So we do try our best to work with people on that kind of stuff. So we do that.
And that is helpful.
Yes.
We went shooting with some friends, and I found out one of the guns one of our friends had, I I liked shooting it so much better than mine.
Yes.
So it does.
That
does matter,
that would
yeah.
change guns.
It does
Yeah.
make a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I'm not a big stickler on, you got to have a 9mm over a 38 or anything. Obviously, you got to be able to hit what you're shooting at.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, that would help.
So you got to have a firearm that you can control and that fits your hand, and that I tell everybody, you're going to have it with you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The number one rule of a gunfight, you got to bring a gun.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'll tell 2 stories before we wrap up this episode. We're going to come back and do a bonus episode. Will you stay with us for one more episode?
I'm here. You
Okay,
got
good. Well, one more episode. We'll do one because I think the best stuff's in the last one. But I'll tell you 2 stories. 2 stories I've learned. Well, there's actually 3, but I'll try to save one for later. But I'll say this one first. My wife and I, after we got our concealed carry and all this stuff, we got ready. You got us licensed in Utah and Florida, which covers us a lot of the country. So, and we'll talk about that in the next episode, why you would want multiple. So we were going to Alaska, so we packed our guns to go. We took them to the airport, properly identified them, and we put them in. And when they were running them through the scanner, we take them over, and they were going through to go to Alaska Airlines. The first guy said, I'm assuming the 380 is yours. Yes. He said, I'm assuming the pink handled 357's your wife's or not yours. Yes. And he says, I got news for you, brother. The guy was from Alaska. He says, throw the 380 away. It's not going to help you in Alaska. You're just going to make the bear mad.
Yeah.
And you're going to pull your arms off. Your wife's got a better chance of defending you with her weapon. Yeah. So that was the first story. The second story I've learned is that when you're around law enforcement reacts differently. Back in the day, you guys, when you took the course, you always taught us, you put your hand in the steering wheel, keep them identified. You guys don't like those referative actions where you're digging around. And a lot of times you're just trying to get, where's my license? Where's my insurance? If you'll just wait, they're cool with you doing that. So I always put my hands up on the wheel, and because, just be respectful. And usually I've always said, by the way, officer, I carry a weapon. And I did that forever. A couple times I get pulled over. I've been known to get pulled over occasionally. I don't have any, I have a clean record, but I've been known to get pulled over. People are very gracious to me. Yeah. Or I pay an attorney to make it go away. But I'm not going to admit this in a court of law. But I've been pulled over, and then my son-in-law years ago, who was police, he's not police anymore, thank God. He told me, he says, you don't need to tell people. He says, I assume everybody's carrying. I asked another officer, he says, yeah, you don't need to tell me. I said, I assume everybody's carrying. I treat everybody like they've got, a disease, And then so one day I got pulled over by our famous energy police department, just briefly. I was just clipping a little bit. And I decided not to tell him because I've been told, quit telling people. You don't need to tell people. And so he walked up to the window and knocked on the window and says, by the way, you're supposed to tell me you're carrying a weapon. And I had no idea they were able to identify it by our license connecting to our state police. I didn't realize, I guess it linked by then. So he said, next time you should tell law enforcement. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I've been told to do it by you. But then later I was told I don't need to do it anymore. And he says, well, I knew you had one, but I'd still like it better if you tell me. What do you prefer?
Well, the law doesn't require you to tell them.
I know, not anymore.
Yeah.
It does not.
It does not.
In the state, now, not every state is that way. Some states are mandatory to stay.
I'm not embarrassed.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've never been pulled out of the car, not one time.
Yeah,
I had one guy one time that says, if it's where it is, just leave it right where it is. We'll be just fine.
Yeah,
on TV, they always pull them out, make you unload it. And, it's all.
State police, my thought has always been that unless I ask you, you don't have to tell me.
Yeah, the last time
And
we
I
got pulled over,
recommend
I had to
Is
tell.
that your recommendation?
My recommendation is if you know it's not a disclosed state, don't disclose.
Don't disclose.
But because most law enforcement officers are going to be just that. They're going to be.
They assume you are dead.
Yeah, because, and not only that, it shouldn't change. Even if though he runs the information and finds out you're a concealed carry permit holder, it shouldn't change how he or she, the officer, handles the situation. Because the truth is we know more about you if you have a concealed carry permit
than we do about the other person.
Yeah, we know that where you've resided for the last 10 years, you've never had any felony convictions, you've not had more than 2 DUIs in the last 7 years, you've not had any gang convictions. We know all of those things. You've not been in a mental hospital, you've not failed a drug screen. We know more about you now than we ever did before.
So it's not a fearful thing for law enforcement for somebody that's properly carrying a weapon.
Absolutely.
So it's actually more. So a lot of people think it's going to make it. I've never seen it make law enforcement nervous, other than the guy got on me the one time because the last guy pulled us over somewhere in Missouri. We were going someplace, going to Branson, And I just had to say, I said, dude, he said, you carry anything? I said, well, I've got a firearm. He says, well, where are they? I said, well, in my door, in my butt, in her purse. I have one on my hip, and he says, just leave them all where they are. We're just fine.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, because they're concerned about where your hands are.
Yeah. And my hands were good when he saw me. And then he went back and but on TV, when you watch TV police, they're pulling the guy out of the car, stripping them down, digging through the car seats, there's a time to do that probably.
Yes.
But not necessarily every time is that time to do that.
Not when it's a law-abiding citizen that is exercising his Second
I've
Amendment.
never had a problem with it ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And like when I walked out the one day and just said, hey, I'm carrying a weapon. And they said, you're fine.
Yeah.
I think law enforcement is cooler with this than you think, especially if you've taken the time to be trained for extreme exigency. And they know you have.
Yes.
It makes it different. We'll come back in the next episode. We're going to go deeper into this. We're going to get into the Christian ethos of this and perspective. I think it's going to be fantastic. I got about 4 or 5 great questions. I've got video, and you're going to see a video clip I want to show you that's going to make you, it didn't make Ray laugh, but everybody else laughs when they watch Ray do this video. I'm going to show it to you in the next episode. We're going to be back in part 3 for our roundtable. We're going to look at the Christian perspective on extreme exigency. What's that moment like? What's the Bible have to say about that? What's our responsibility? We're going to wrap up with a few more other questions in this bonus episode of On the Dock. Go to onthedock.org. info@onthedock.org is our email, and you can watch us on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play, Facebook, Roku, Rumble, and ServerNet. But we want you on YouTube. Look at that. He's got it up on the screen. Spotify and iTunes. Go to those spots, and when you get there, hit notify, like, subscribe. Tell people you're just fired up about it. Send the links out to your friends so they have to watch it. Ray, you'll be able to send the link of this out, and everybody in your business will see it. They get to see you on here, and it'll be good for us. So
I'm going to look younger, right?
Yeah, you're going to look much younger. So hit subscribe, like, and then tell other people about On the Dock. We have lots of other good shows, taking it to the street spotlights. We're doing things on building a stronger church, and we've got great episodes, other episodes in season 3. Go back and watch season 2 and 1. We're up over a couple hundred episodes, and we'd love you to be a part. You can always be a partner of the show. Go to Patreon, download the app, find on the Dock with Pastor Troy. Be one of our partners. There's 4 ways. There's also 3 levels of sponsorship. If you've got a business or an organization you want to sponsor with us. Also, you can go to our partner, slnt.com. Get your Faraday bag for your phone or your key fob or for your backpack. If you're traveling, you want to put your laptop in it. It'll protect your stuff from being stolen. It'll protect your right to disconnect, and you'll have your safety with that. Go to slnt.com/discount/OTD, or just go to slnt.com and use on the promo checkout OTD, and you'll get our deal, which is at least a 10% discount. Big deals on shipping and all that stuff. Check that out. If you don't have a church home, COFTV.com is our website. You can go find out how to be a part of this church in Southern Illinois. Community of Faith Church. We're housed out of here, 10 o'clock on Sunday, 6:30 on Wednesday. We'd love to have you here. Ray goes to Cornerstone.
Yes,
They would love to have you at Cornerstone.
there.
Check it out. They have a website as well. We've had them on the show multiple times, and we would love to have you in a church someplace, in a God-fearing church, finding out what God has for your life. Your business, Extreme Exigency, is all about glorifying God. Cutting hair, training people to cut hair, training academy for shooting. It's just amazing.
Touching lives every day.
Touching lives every day and getting it. So taking it to the street spotlight, Extreme Exigency. We'll be back in the next episode. As we go out on this episode, I'm going to launch our SLNT promo, so you can find out more about that. Then you'll see our final stuff, and we'll be back in show number 3, the bonus round. So we'll see you soon. I'm Pastor Troy. Get ready for SLNT. Check out this product. Go get it for us, and we'll see you back soon on the Dock. I'm Pastor Troy. Here we go.
There are more than 8 billion phones in the world, a fact that threatens your privacy, security, and health. With Silent Pocket Faraday protection, you can regain control over your mobile devices. We get it. Privacy and security are inconvenient topics, and you may feel like you have nothing to hide, but the fact is that in the modern world, your laptop is never really off. Your phone emits a signal, even in airplane mode. And everything from your passport to your credit cards contains RFID, and all of it contains valuable private information that is easily exploited in the wrong hands. Silent Pocket offers a range of products you already use: wallets, bags, travel gear, laptop sleeves, key cases, but with the added protection of our patented Faraday technology, which turns your devices invisible and safe from the outside world. Many industries, from top business professionals to government officials, require the use of Faraday products for the day-to-day security of them and their staff. They understand that we are constantly at risk and take the necessary steps to prevent future attacks. We offer this elite technology to anyone that values their personal data And we are proud to offer a premium range that fits seamlessly into your everyday life, providing security without looking like a tinfoil hat. As we learn to live with technology, Silent Pocket stands on the 3 pillars of privacy, security, and health. Our goal is to provide harmony with mobile technology without risking our most valuable information. We hope you'll trust us to help you do the same.